Best Ball is more popular than ever. With over $30 million in prize money available across different platforms, we have to be looking for ways that we can gain an edge on the competition. Here's Best Ball data shows us that certain micro-strategies can absolutely be the key to taking down these contests. And in this video, I'm going to give you all the details you need to know about why Hero RB could help you win huge amounts of money this year. Whether you've heard of Hero RB or not, whether you draft one team a year or hundreds, whether you've used this strategy before, or whether you're just merely wondering what the term Hero RB is on about and what all those guys who are streaming Best Ball drafts are actually talking about, this video is going to tell you something you need to know to help take your rosters to the next level. The essence of Hero RB, or Anchor RB as it's sometimes called, is that early on in the draft you attach yourself to one of the heroic type running backs like Christian McCaffrey or Austin Eckler, one of the true 3-down running backs that have upside that just isn't matched by guys that you can get later on in the draft. In 2022, there were 13 running backs who were drafted inside the first 24 picks on Underdog's half PPR format. Thanks to the success though of wide receivers in 2022, this year there were only 7 running backs who are being drafted inside the first 2 rounds, and later on we'll talk about them more. In 2022, 8 running backs averaged over 15 half PPR points per game. 4 of those were drafted inside the first 26 picks. That was Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley. Of the rest, 2 of them were drafted after pick 70. Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard. 2 were drafted in the running back dead zone. Nick Chubb, Breece Hall. To further push the point of how valuable running backs at the top of the draft are, let's look at the top 12 running backs in targets per game. 9 of those players were drafted inside the top 36 picks in 2022. Christian McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Ramondre Stevenson, J.D. McKissick, DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, James Conner, Aaron Jones. 9 of those players were drafted inside the top 36 picks last year. So when you build a Hero RB or Anchor RB team, you're just trying to attach yourself to one of those players with a huge upside. After these first selections, a Hero RB or Anchor RB drafter will favor wide receivers in the first 6 rounds, but typically end up with one more running back around rounds 6 to 7. And we'll come to why that's a good area of the draft to take running backs very soon. While Zero RB and Robust RB are extreme strategies and can be polarizing topics producing extreme results one way or the other, Hero RB sounds cool for a start, and it appeals to the masses more because it offers a more balanced start to your drafts. Zero RB requires a wide receiver heavy start, and Robust RB involves focusing heavily on running backs to start your draft, and we know how often they can get injured. Extreme strategies like this, we put fear amongst the uninitiated, people who haven't drafted a lot of teams. They don't want to attach themselves to them. But Hero RB, it's the perfect one which a lot of people flock to. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss out when we bring you ways that you can use Zero RB and even Robust RB to maximize your rosters. Meanwhile, with Hero RB, you're free to grab that stud running back, build out your roster with wide receivers, even an elite quarterback or an elite tight end. 1 running back in the first 2 rounds, and then none till round 6 or later. One of the biggest advantages of this strategy is it means that we get to bypass the running back dead zone of rounds 3 to 6 for the most part. Backs in this range have been disappointing historically. Jack Miller of Established the Run and Ben Gretsch of Stealing Signals have both written extensively about how over the last few years, running backs drafted in this range put up historically not good advance rates. In 2021, we saw 14 wide receivers advance on Underdog at a rate of 15% or greater, compared to 10 running backs. 5 wide receivers advanced at over 20% compared to only 2 running backs. In 2022, this trend continued with 13 wide receivers advancing at over 15% compared to just 7 running backs, and then 5 wide receivers above 20% and only 2 running backs. Routinely, we see wide receivers in this area of the draft perform stronger than running backs do. But once we pass the 6th round, historically speaking, the difference in wide receiver and running back scoring, it gets a lot closer. In 2022, as the fantasy community became more aware of the dead zone as a concept, many running backs were either pushed above it or below it, with only 10 running backs drafted in the dead zone between rounds 3 to 6 last year compared to 14 the previous year. Of those 10 2022 running backs who were drafted in the dead zone, only 4 of them had positive advance rates, and 2 of the positive advance rates came from players who were being drafted in round 3. Nick Chubb, one of them, so perhaps we just got the pricing wrong of those players in the first place. The dead zone running backs, they were a mixed bag as they are every year, and people always point to the success whilst conveniently forgetting about the players who failed in that area. The good was very good. Nick Chubb, 15.5 points per game. Breece Hall, 15.1 points per game. The bad though was very bad, with Cam Akers putting up 8.6 points per game and Elijah Mitchell 6.2. That's not helping anybody's team. Even Travis Etienne, who saw James Robinson get traded away, wasn't able to outperform his ADP. He put up just 11.3 points per game, which was good enough for the RB16. That's not helping anyone when you've piled in a round 4 pick into him. The performance of these dead zone running backs, along with 2022 being a particularly strong year for wide receivers, has seen more running backs pushed down into the dead zone, and we see more wide receivers being pushed up into the first 2 rounds. We're seeing 5 more wide receivers inside the first 2 rounds this year compared to last year. On Underdog in particular, you can really get boxed out a wide receiver if you don't grab a couple early, because as soon as you get to the dead zone, there's now 16 running backs in that area. So what does this mean for Hero RB? We're going to get to the 2023 running backs soon, but first let's take a look at how running backs performed after the dead zone in 2022 and even further back. In 2022, in rounds 7 and 8, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders all crushed expectations, as well as Ramondre Stevenson, who was available even later than that. In 2021, Leonard Fournette and James Conner were incredible league winners and both had underdog advance rates of over 35%. Both of them drafted after the running back dead zone. 2020, Antonio Gibson had an ADP of 91.3. He had an advance rate of 32.5%, which represented the 5th highest amount amongst running backs that year. In 2019, Austin Eckler, Miles Sanders, they were the standout running backs in the middle rounds. Go back to 2018, Nick Chubb, James White. Year after year, the middle rounds of drafts deliver some of the best value running backs. And it's an area of the draft when we're drafting hero running back, we can aim to grab 1, 2, even 3 in this area and really take advantage of it. These 2 images show how in 2022, running back scoring and advance rate, it dipped around round 5 and 6 in particular before becoming more fruitful later on around round 7 through 9. With a traditional hero RB build, we stand a great chance of being able to take advantage of that. So through 6 rounds, you should now have a roster made up of a stud running back who's a 3-down pass-catching, point-scoring machine, and then a bunch of great wide receivers, along with the flexibility to add an elite tight end or an elite quarterback if it falls to you. You've done all of that without straying away from this strategy that we know could win you millions of dollars. With quarterbacks being pushed up the drafts this year, we don't need to avoid them in this strategy. Likewise, drafting an elite tight end is typically a great idea and it can really help a hero RB build, but we'll get to that very soon. If you're unable to draft a running back that plays 3 downs and is used near the goal line, then they're not the type of running back that we want to be drafting for hero RB builds. DeAndre Swift last year was a great example of a player who you didn't want to build a hero RB team around. As training camp went on, we got more reports that the Lions really liked Jamal Williams, and it just seemed inevitable that DeAndre Swift wasn't going to get the kind of amount of touches that he'd need to be a true hero running back. It also helps if you build a hero RB team around a player whose coaches actually like them. Thanks to FFPC's classic best ball data, which goes back to 2017, we can get a better idea of how the strategy has paid off over a good few years now. This table shows that taking a running back in the first 2 rounds, then a second one after round 5, and a third one before round 8 would give our rosters a really good chance to succeed, and a better chance than if we waited till after round 8 to take that third one. All of this data, again, it's via RotoViz's roster construction tools, and you should definitely check them out. If we apply the same roster construction tactics of RB1 before round 3, RB2 before round 5, and RB3 before round 8 to Underdog, and can combine 2021 and 2022 data, you can see, again, it gives you a really strong advance rate of 20.2%. So what we're seeing here is that if you can thread the needle with 1 RB before round 3, a second after round 5, and a third before round 8, you stand a really good chance of having a roster that's going to advance at an above average rate. But we are threading the needle a little bit there to get that specific. So let's loosen things back up a little bit. This table shows advance rates on Underdog in 2021 and 2022 when you took a single running back in the first 2 rounds and then waited until after round 6 for your second. Playoff advance rate is 16.7%, and we can see that several builds surpass that easily. What's key here is that taking between 5 and 6 running backs total resulted in a very successful advance rate. Just because we've only got one early doesn't mean we need to get silly and take lots of running backs later on. It's also worth pointing out that the later we try to push taking our second running back, the worse the advance rates get, which suggests that the sweet spot for that second running back really is in that sort of round 6 to 7 range. Once you start pushing it past round 8, it just starts to plummet and get a lot worse. It's becoming evident that using between 5 and 6 roster spots on running backs is the most optimal approach, particularly in a hero RB build. While DraftKings and FFPC use 20 roster spots, Underdog only uses 18, but the difference is minimal in terms of how rosters have advanced. So we want to be using between 25% to 30% of our available picks on running backs. Doing this though, it allows for a balanced amount of wide receivers and space to pick and choose how you want to approach tight end and quarterback. The winner of last year's DraftKings $5 Millie Maker contest was this team, which featured a hero running back build with Christian McCaffrey and a total of 6 running backs. After taking CMC early, they stayed away from running back until after round 10 before taking the next running back. This team wasn't the prettiest, but it held true to a hero RB build, and it did enough in a final with almost 1,000 teams to hold on and take home the $1 million. Last year, we saw the benefit of an elite tight end to hero RB builds. On Underdog, where if you went hero RB with 5 running backs total, you advanced at a rate of 19.1%. But if you did the same with a tight end who was drafted before round 3, your advance rate jumped all the way up to 22%. 2022 was a year where many different builds worked in best ball drafts and contests. The Underdog regular season winner took home $1 million using pure zero RB. The overall winner, Pat Crane, used a dual RB approach, taking 2 in his first 2 picks. And as we talked about on DraftKings, hero RB was what took down the $1 million prize. One thing remains clear though, and that's using microstrategies such as hero RB. It gives an advantage over the field, which was the last tournament you saw was taken down by a team where they just picked the best players. The field as a whole still are not taking advantage of these strategies. So how can we take advantage of that for 2023? Current ADP has all of these running backs being drafted inside the first 2 rounds, and all of them are suitable players to build a hero RB team around. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, and Tony Pollard. But with wide receivers and quarterbacks being pushed up the board, there are other running backs out there that we can target for hero RB builds. We're seeing running backs slide into the 3rd round who wouldn't normally be going there. Even into the 4th round in the depths of the dead zone, we can make an argument for hero RBs around these players. In round 3, that's Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, Breece Hall. And in round 4, Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, Joe Mixon, and Dameon Pierce still feel like players you can build a hero running back team around. Throughout this video, we've talked about taking a running back in rounds 1 or 2, and then staying away from a position. With the ADP the way that it is this year, we can flip that. Take your hero RB in round 3 or possibly even later, but stick to the key principles of hero RB. That's 1 running back through 6 rounds. Make sure you're still getting those elite wide receivers and possibly even the top quarterback and tight end options. Hero RB doesn't have to be an exact formula. We can stick to the main principles, and as long as we're not dedicating too much resources to running backs early on, then it should still turn out okay. In drafts right now, these are my favorite hero RBs in the 3rd round or even late hero RBs as we get further down the draft board. Ramondre Stevenson, Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, Joe Mixon, and Dameon Pierce. Don't click away though just yet. We've still got more stuff that's really going to help you win with this strategy. But hit that subscribe button because I've got another video coming very soon talking about my hero RB targets for this year and why they're ideal for this strategy. A good draft structure, it can make up for missing out on players, and if you're building a large portfolio of best ball rosters, it's good practice to try more than one type of strategy. When we enter drafts, it's best to just remain open-minded to the way we navigate the draft board and be ready to hoover up players who fall to us. As a strategy, hero RB will be one that I look to utilize often in 2023, based on its history of a strong win rate and just what it lets me do with the draft board when I'm on the clock. If you want to increase your chances of winning, Hit that subscribe button so I can keep bringing you more content that will help you find an edge in your best ball drafts. Let's make 2023 a profitable season. Much of the raw data in this video, it came from RotoViz's FFPC Roster Construction Explorer or 4for4's Underdog Roster Construction Explorer, and I'd really recommend checking them both out. Leave me a comment, let me know which running backs you like to build your hero RB teams around. Thanks for watching, and we are going to be back very soon.